Hey everybody, Kenny Schaefer with OFIT. I am your Dolce diet coach for nutrition counseling, and I am back again this week with yet again another recipe. This one's going to be short, sweet, and simple. I'm going to give you our recipe for the Invincible Coffee. So this recipe was originally made pretty popular by Dave Asprey in his Bulletproof Coffee. We actually like to refer to it as the Invincible Coffee because it makes you invincible. So it's pretty simple. It's 8 ounces of fresh ground, fresh brewed French press coffee, and we're going to combine that with a half tablespoon of grass-fed unsalted butter, and then also a half tablespoon of cold pressed extra virgin unrefined coconut oil. Now, I get a lot of questions of why we're putting these fats into the coffee and what the effect is. So besides it coming out nice and creamy and frothy, kind of like a latte, and being ultra delicious, there is a lot of health benefit to this. Obviously, saturated fat, or fats I should say, are one of the most important things you can incorporate into your diet, and unfortunately the health industry's kind of been misleading us, telling us for years that we shouldn't have saturated fats and should basically avoid them at all costs. Obviously we know better now. So by combining these fats with the coffee, a couple of things are happening. For one, the caffeine kind of binds to these fats, so our body's actually able to metabolize and utilize the caffeine for a much longer duration of time. Whereas traditionally, if you're drinking, say, a black cup of coffee, we get a pretty quick spike, but a pretty quick drop off as well. So when these fats combine to the caffeine, it's actually going to give us a very slow, gradual rise and also a very slow teetering off. There have been some studies showing that it can actually extend the effect of the caffeine by about 3 hours, also keeping our blood sugars in check so we're not getting the crazy shakes and jitters. It's one of the main reasons I like it. I've always enjoyed coffee but never really enjoyed the jittery, shaky feeling and the down that comes afterwards. So this Invincible Coffee actually pretty much prevents that from happening, and you can even get creative as far as flavor goes and do a dash of like cinnamon powder or even a little bit of vanilla extract if you want something a little different. But it's pretty quick and easy. I literally drink this coffee every morning. It's how I start my day after I've had my breakfast bowl. So give me a moment, I'll show you the quick, simple process, and we'll get this thing rolling for you. Alright everyone, so I have a quick setup here for you. Got my raw coffee beans, my coffee grinder. I picked this sucker up from Walmart for like 12 bucks. It's the Mr. Coffee brand. It's not like automated, but it gets the job done and it's cost effective. This is an insulated French press. I recommend making the little more of an investment in getting something insulated to help keep your coffee hot. And this is my water kettle. I've talked about this before, but again, they're like 20 bucks at Walmart and totally worth it. They make morning speed a lot faster. So I'm gonna go ahead and flick this on. Now that's going. So I like to make my coffee pretty strong. So I do 2 tablespoons of coffee. If you're doing a French press, you need this to be a coarse grind. So it's pretty simple. Basically what's gonna happen, we're gonna close this sucker down. We're just gonna hold it until it stops. So I have the settings made already for it for a coarse grind. This detaches. I like to make sure there's nothing on there. As you can see, I got my coffee grinds in there, nothing too fancy. And we'll just dump it in. And then now all we're waiting is for the water to brew. So as I was mentioning before, those saturated fats in the coffee, another important aspect to remember is the brain is made primarily of fat. So in the morning, especially with this coffee, it's really important because you're kind of like fueling your brain right off the bat. Getting those good saturated fats in your body first thing in the morning is really kind of optimizing your body for success because you're basically feeding your brain some very essential nutrients. Most of us are lacking enough saturated fat in our diet as it is, or at least the healthy versions of it. So this is a great way to get your morning started off and just really boosting your cognitive functioning, as well as just getting that caffeine boost that we all enjoy and running through the day. So what's going to happen here is once this water comes to a boil, I'm going to kind of eyeball it, pour it in. And then traditionally with a French press, you're wanting to let it steep between 7 to 10 minutes. The better insulated your French press is, the longer you can go on that time spectrum. Personally, I don't like going over 10 minutes just because the water tends to not be, or the coffee tends to start getting a little more close to like room temperature, and I like my coffee pretty hot. And then once this is over, once it steeps, I'll check back in with you guys when it's ready to brew, or to blend, sorry, and we'll throw in the coconut oil and the grass-fed butter, and I'll show you what the outcome looks like. I post about this coffee all the time. It's one of my favorite things, and obviously Mike and the rest of the Dolce team, we all talk about it, and I'm sure you've probably even heard of this blend before, but I just thought I'd give a quick demonstration. Oftentimes people ask me about it and don't really know what I'm talking about, or are kind of unsure the way to go about it. So let's go ahead and address that issue for you. But again, with the butter and the coconut oil, you really do want to make sure that you're getting unsalted, grass-fed butter to really make sure you're getting a really good, proper nutrition base. And then with the coconut oil, make sure that it is cold pressed and unrefined, and then extra virgin if you can, to really, top off the nutrient level. So as you see, I've been rambling for like 2 minutes. The water's come to a boil, so we're good to go now. So I'll just go ahead and flick this off. I'll check this out. Now you can measure this if you want. I'm making this coffee every day, so I have a pretty good idea of where my line is, and we're good to go. You can stir it or you can let it sit. It's up to you. I don't really see it necessary to stir. We'll top it off, and that's that. So I'll come back in 7 minutes, guys. Typically what I do here is when I start making my breakfast bowls, so that when I'm done eating, my coffee's ready to go. Alright everyone, so it's been about 7 minutes. We'll go ahead and make some coffee. Just real quick, Kerrygold's unsalted grass-fed butter. Can't go wrong with this stuff. That's what I have here. So we're going to go ahead and open up the blender. Blendtec's the best blender in the world. So if you're not familiar with the press, when it's ready, you just press down, hence the French press. Anyhow, be sure to turn it open. There's usually a little space in there. And we're just going to add this to the blender. Obviously, I went a little over my 8 ounces, but things happen. And what I like to do is, like, here's my half tablespoon of butter. Just go ahead and drop that in there. And rather than getting your finger all gross with the coconut oil, you can literally just let your tablespoon or half tablespoon, whatever it is you're doing, just kind of soak in the hot coffee for a minute. And whenever it's ready, the coconut oil should just slide right out with a little bit of a jiggle. Then you don't got to worry about the mess. So it's pretty solid. So when you blend this, you don't really need to blend it for any longer than 10 seconds. So I just throw it on. If you do have a Blendtec or Vitamix, I'll just do like the pulse thing. So I just hold it down. And just like that. You can see the color change and how nice it actually looks. I was talking earlier when I poured this water and wasn't quite paying attention. So I'm going to have a little more than my 8 ounces. But for the most part, guys, that's your coffee. It's my extra 4 ounces. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you can't see this, always remember, today is a victory over yourself of yesterday. Tomorrow is your victory over a lesser foe. Enjoy. Also, guys, before I end off on that note, feel free to subscribe, leave some comments, let me know what you want to see. Check me out at ohfitt.com. That's ohfitt.com. That's also the name of the YouTube channel. My Instagram is oh_fitt. Same with the Twitter. I appreciate any following and any feedback, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video.